Like to call the meeting order, stand select. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. Supervisor Rogers? Here. Councilman Brown?
Here.
Councilman Blues?
Here.
I'd like to have a moment of silence for Mike Hill, who owns Valley Hill Maple Farm. Thank you. We have 3 people here to give presentations. Don't know what order you wanted to go in, doesn't matter. Did you want to go first?
Just dropped that for the Richards Library, dropped off a calendar for some of the events that are happening, and we're getting some really good results for people who are interested in all kinds of different things. So please stop by and check us out.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to go next? Okay. Do you want that to go next? That's fine. Okay. Are you here for the survey? Yes. Okay. Whatever you need. Sorry. I do have a smaller picture right here. There it is.
That is, I believe that's the original work, right?
Okay.
The survey map that you had originally, this piece,
Okay.
across the street, but what has happened, there's an inside door. So, this is Brandon Culver, and chases south. On the inside here, you can see the existing line, which is the dash line, which goes to the garage, very close to the residence. Dash line is existing, which goes into the garage, and very, very close to the residence. So, what they're proposing is just a little sliver.
Just a small change.
Yeah. The EPA did issue a letter of non-jurisdiction, although the town was also copied on that. Here, it's an hour now. All they said was basically a little sliver of language merged, you know, we understand the law is not conforming, so when it's merged, what their intention is that they have no problem.
Great, that's what said, that doesn't require a permit or variance from the APA. So I have a resolution here to allow me to sign. I think you need to survey it. Well, have to sign.
And paper.
Okay. Would you like to bring that resolution to the floor? Sure. Thanks.
I'll second it.
Whereas the property owners at 1239 and 1293 River Road have asked for a boundary line adjustment, whereas this boundary line adjustment has already been reviewed by the APA and found not to need a permit or variance, and whereas Assessor Thomas Birdsall has also been aware of this line adjustment, Be it resolved, the town board authorizes the supervisor to sign the Mylar copy and the surveys reflecting the boundary line adjustment.
Does that reflect what you needed to say?
Sure.
As the county clerk likes it.
All in favor?
Back.
Or, tell me, wait for the time people and the other copy of the property owner.
Where-
You have a signature block on the floor.
It's actual signature block to the town clerk. We have none of the other things signed, the town clerk with the signature on it. Well, it's not required, it has a signature block we're supposed to use. I looked at other private apps, it's not, I didn't see an actual signature block on any
I
of
don't
them.
know. The last one I signed, I just signed on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, anywhere you want to do that, yeah.
I'll sign right over here then.
You want to put it or roll?
Keep signing. Yeah, we need to. Okay.
So, the last time we were here, Cedarwood, we talked about the master plan, for, facilities, just general facilities for the town of Thurman. And, we talked about, well, we just talked in concept of a few things, but we boiled it down a little bit, I believe, and all this can be changed. So whatever I present tonight isn't the absolute, answer to what needs to be done. It's just to float some stuff out there and give you all a chance to sit down, and then we're gonna leave the stuff here. And there's always little tweaks everybody would like to do to make a better fit, go to another place, or look at a site. We have zeroed in, and we can look at another site if the town board would like us to. We broke it down to the River Road site, this site, and then the transfer station. I believe that's kind of conceptually what we talked about. And that's what it shows on this map. I'm gonna set this right here. So, probably there's no real order, but as far as the highway garage goes, maybe Pat, I want to see this too a little bit. Gary came up with a conceptual drawing based on conversations we've had with everybody. Again, this is still very preliminary, but it helps us get to a good point, when we do get into a final design, when we're all in agreement on what it should be, it's very helpful to us. And I'll just digress for a second. One of the things that drives us crazy, and I'm not accusing the town board of doing this, but is when you get into something like this and then, oh, we had a different idea after we got a design, it's called scope creep, we have a name for it, and it gets very involved, and then there's all this, oh, geez, we thought you'd do that for the same price, and all this stuff. So what we try to do is go through these multiple iterations up front, get to that final point, and then we're all in agreement, and then somebody like Gary can get into the details, So this is, again, very preliminary, but I'm gonna turn it over to Gary just for a second. Pat, I don't know if you can see it or not.
Do you want to move, Pat, so you can see?
No, but.
All right.
has 4 double bays for salt trucks. This is enough room to keep a plow on and walk around safely without knocking your knees or whatever, and performing tasks in the truck. We also included 2 mechanics bays where you can bring in anything that needs, that will be sheltered, that will be heated. And as part of this, it's segregated, so it's its own space.
So the cross you've seen there, those are actual walls?
This is an actual wall. Oh, this here's a trench drain.
Okay. Because the concept I thought that we talked about before was a facility where you could drive through.
Yeah, here's an overhead door. There's 4 overhead doors here and 4 overhead doors here. You just drive straight through.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you drive through the maintenance. And you can drive through the maintenance.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's.
Yeah, that is a little confusing.
So that's like for like what they call the wash station, the drain, that's where.
Well,
We're gonna get a discussion. He's laughing already. We'll get a discussion about that. That is a very sensitive topic.
this is for melting snow. Only.
Yep.
Okay, keep going. I'll finish with the board.
Okay.
Over here, there's some offices, locker rooms, and restroom areas, and storage, tool storage, and so forth, help with the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I know you gave us a list with all these other vehicles.
You wanted these out of the weather just so you can keep them lasting a longer period.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, go ahead.
Well, I just built an outdoor structure with just a roof that
Mhm.
contained them vehicles. I don't know if you really want a garbage truck sitting inside an enclosed building. It's just, and the grader and front loader and stuff like that. Most of the time they sit outside unless they're being in service.
Right.
Mechanics. So just to save some costs, I put an open canopy out there.
Okay.
It's just like a farm with a machinery shed, you know, just to keep it out of the weather, you know.
Unheated, has a roof. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exposed to elements, but it's a roof on it.
Right.
Correct. Yep.
And you can have electric out here, have plugs if you need it, you know what I mean, preheat, stuff like that, you can have that out there.
Yeah, in every column we can go down with even air if you want it. Air electric.
What's the total dimensions?
This is 139 by 92. That's the building, not open structure 64 by 50. So it's a substantial open building.
The following page we go to, we place this building on each one of those sites that I mentioned, and they could be moved around. That's just, again, a starting point to see how it fits.
Okay.
And it's, the building's 12,695 square feet, and the open structure is 3,348 square feet. Just to give you an idea. Right now, buildings are 225 square foot, so 225 times that 12.6, I'll give you a kind of rough estimate.
Mhm.
Now, this particular case I showed is a prefab steel metal frame building. Currently, I'm doing a weird one, a highway rise and keeper, and it's actually cheaper than the CMU walls, and it would trusses.
Which we feel still would be a 75-year service life, you know, with a little bit of maintenance, depending what you put on for a roof. All buildings take maintenance, but with just a little bit of O&M, even with a cement block building, you know, you get a good foundation, a good spread footer, you do all the reinforcing blocks, it could be a beautiful building. And then, you know, it wouldn't be cement block on the outside, you would have.
No, it'll be covered with insulation and some kind of finish, either fiber cement siding. We need the insulation for the energy code, and it's continuous from the footing all the way up to the truss area.
How tall is it?
Well, this particular one, because of the plow trucks, these are we do the ceiling.
How do you?
Gary's saying he made the ceilings high enough, so if you have to lift the box a little bit to do work, you can.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to bring it all the way up.
The prefab metal, you'll be able to lift it higher than if we do with the block walls from the trusses. Because I usually put flat, bottom cord trusses. So you only have a 16-foot ceiling, basically, in the other construction type.
So, one other thing, Gary, trying to mention it too, is, some of these other buildings, kind of buildings, above the buildings, similar buildings, attic, stuff like that, he's pointing out that some of the, components, there's over a year lead time. Now, not that we're ready to break ground tomorrow, but when you get to that point, it still could be, who knows, what's going on with, supply chains and everything.
The wall, oh, sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say the insulated wall panels for a prefab metal building are 50 weeks out. Yeah, and they're expensive.
And the floor is what, concrete then?
It is, yes, reinforced concrete.
Radiant, floor,
Well, in our case, we proposed radiant floor. That'll make the whole slab radiant heat. And then we'll put supplemental heat out the doors. So when you bring a truck in the winter time,
should make a
My question was the rooms down the right side, can you just start at the top and tell me what each of those rooms are?
yeah, it's all written over here. The top right-hand room is the highway superintendent's office. This here room is a meeting room, lunchroom. This has a kitchenette, basically. This part here, there's lockers down this hallway, and then we have a toilet room here and a unisex toilet here. And this is the tool storage for the mechanics, and then our mechanical room for the boilers for your heating and electrical panel and so forth.
Hey, can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Uh,
I took it writing 2 weeks ahead of time.
Could you put a mezzanine over top of this? for
We
storage?
could, and in the prefab metal building, we could put a storage mezzanine on top of that, just to give you more part storage or
Well, I
whatever.
was gonna ask, where's the storage area for parts and supplies
Yeah, this,
fluids and?
Yeah, that could be a
it's
little
only,
limited,
yeah, it's only limited to here, but this bay, if you can tell, is a lot wider. So they can fill this up with shelves on your side and workbenches. There's enough room on each side. Plus get a truck with a plow.
But if they wanted to, they could add something here for the lighter things. Again, you don't want to be hooking up, big tires and rims up a set of stairs or something like that, but you could reinforce or put some joists in.
Yeah, we could put a concrete slab on this and have a mezzanine with a ship's ladder or something to get up there, or a regular ladder. And that could be just, like you said, light parts for trucks or whatever.
Would you have enough room to put a set of steps up the?
Yeah,
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 with the
because, like I said, you can have a workbench and shelves on each side.
So you can put a set of steps.
Correct. Yeah, you also have your air compressor and stuff on the wall, MIG welder or whatever.
So will each bay have its own like air outlets and electric outlets?
Correct.
Exhaust ports.
So,
We have air changes. We have to design for new mechanical. So if you keep a truck running more than 10 minutes, it would need to be so-called 10 minutes. It would need your exhaust hooked up. And usually that's found in your mechanics area.
Okay.
The guys here, you really don't have to run the truck up because it's already, it should be ready to go in the morning.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's nice.
So that's the overall plan that we're looking at. Again, we're gonna leave this with all you all, and we can bring over more sets, and keep paper copies, just for work up sheets, stuff like that. But again, this is just something to put together.
is there anything similar to this in the Warren County area that we
or
can work on?
Yeah.
We can take a
It's actually the same building. They have a mezzanine right above this.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Darren, Granger, highway superintendent.
I'd recommend we go take a look at it and
Absolutely.
talk to them, see if there's things they'd like to see that maybe get left out or changed or enlarged or whatever.
Yeah.
Do they have radiant heat at theirs?
I believe so. It's been a while. I know they have two boilers. They have a boiler and a standby boiler. Yeah, they do have radiant heat. More to think about.
This is probably getting too far down into the weeds at this point, but, are we talking about heating with oil, propane, waste oil?
Propane.
Propane.
Unless, well, no, propane. That could be heating oil, right now. I don't know what the cost difference between heating oil and propane is. You don't have natural gas anymore, so.
No. But I think
You're kind of
I think
limited.
he was talking about having wood or oil.
I went to wood, not for building this size. You have to do propane or heating oil. What do you have, what's this one down there? You have,
What do you heat with now?
you have propane,
Oil.
heating oil?
Oil.
Do you burn wood at all?
No, not anymore. Well, we used to have a wood furnace and everything do that.
And we would look to see if NYSERDA or somebody does a grant, but sometimes, you know, I won't say it doesn't work, but it gets pretty exotic what you gotta do, but, you know. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
They're doing way deeper, and they're going after solar panels after this. This is, they're getting a much smaller building, obviously, but they're going after a grant for solar.
Generator?
Yes, we have a generator for, this will be one generator. It's kind of a need. It's kind of hard to open doors when power's down. You got 16 by 12 foot doors, so.
They have a generator now, it probably have to be bigger.
Yeah, it'll probably be, I don't know, probably 20 or 20 kW or something like that. So it's for full operation. Now, you can get it down if you just want to operate the doors, the heating and lighting, certain lighting, I should say. But it's all LED, we put all LED lighting in. Everything meets the energy code, so you'll save cost heating this building for years. And your electric bill. Yeah.
Hey Pat, I can't see you back there. Are there things that you thought of that you really want to see in this building or?
The ceiling, the height of the ceilings and something that to get the beds in the air. You know, the other day we had to change a ram on a truck, and you know, you gotta do it outside because you can't fit it in the cab. You know, pick them big rams out there. We just,
Does that have to be all the way up? I guess it does get the ramp out, right? You gotta have it.
well, like halfway at least. You know, would be good.
So what height would that be?
I'd have to measure it out. But you could say maybe 20 feet with the headrest.
Yeah, I think it's around 20 feet at like a 40-degree angle.
Yeah.
I did on CAD because other people, they had the same issue. And this, if you go with prefab, it automatically goes up your ceiling because it follows the slope. So in the center, you'll have a lot of room to open the CAD. But you limit one truck ahead of it. But if you do it in a mechanics bay, it probably won't matter.
Yeah.
So, but if we go with a masonry building with flat bottom trusses, I usually put them at 16 feet, which you won't be able to get up that high.
Yeah.
But we can always, the only bad thing about going up is you have to heat cool or heat more. That's all. Yeah.
Can you, just for one bay, could you have a different design, almost like truss, just to
We
give a
could
little?
we could probably put scissor trusses in the mechanics bay if we decide to go that way.
One single bay, you had that.
Yeah, the mechanics. Yeah, the mechanics bay.
Part on the other part.
Yeah. We could probably, when we get down that, we could probably put scissor trusses.
Which would give you
may have to go to the middle of the bay, but still.
Yeah.
How substantial is the difference in cost? I know you haven't done detailed numbers yet, but between prefab and.
Right now, let's see, I think we were saving close to $75 a square foot. Doing masonry versus prefab.
Did you run the number on this one, Gary?
He one. Oh, no, not this one.
So this is how many square feet you want to take?
12,000. I'm gonna say it's one of
Is
those.
it, but that doesn't include the
$900,000.
It's
At $75 a square foot, 12,000 square feet.
which, not just on a foot, that's cheap.
oh, no, that's the savings.
No, no,
between
that's-
the
Oh,
two.
savings.
That's the
I was
difference
gonna
between,
say, that was cheap.
that's the difference between prefab versus a block building.
So,
So the black building's cheaper than the prefab, you're saying?
It is now. Plus they're available.
Yeah.
in the block building, you take a little bit of a bump, you know, Gary designs them, so, you know, if you do something just with metal skin and stuff, you know, they could.
Well, because I've seen some minor graphics down at Greenfield, you know, the metal goes all the way to the ground, and they install it in the parking lot, and I've seen them rust up, the metal rust up.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I put what I do, and you'll see it at, when you go to HortCon, they went up like a wainscot up to the door height, a man door height of CMU. It's really good, that's how I do it. That way the salt doesn't get to it, you can, I know how dainty you guys are. So, Bids, I can take whatever you throw at it, literally. I know they throw wrenches and stuff like that. But either way, I do that for the prefab also.
Yeah.
I bring the masonry up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great building to look at.
So maybe it's important now, but did you say 225 square foot? Is that what you said?
For,
But now, that doesn't include, you're not including this.
no, I wasn't including that.
So you want to take a run number real
I
quick?
don't know what to even start with that. Woods all over the place right now.
Well, we can just do the main building.
That's 2.7 million.
Can we do?
12,000 times 225.
I did a grant, proposal for, Jason.
Just-
Yeah,
Jason,
and it was 5.4 million. And it was bigger than this. I think that number 3 double base bigger than this. So I'm kind of basing them all off of HortCon, because Darren seemed to be happy with his. And Jason been there, and he likes that building too. So, but I'm gonna change it if everybody likes it.
When we start talking about financing this, what kind of potential grant dollars are available out there? I mean, how much of the 2.7 million are we gonna have to pay?
I don't know. Craig Leggett was going for the SAM grant, the state and municipal, and I fell out of touch with them. I don't know what happened there. It's been almost 2 years now since I started this process with them.
we know people have been successful with the SANS grant. Through the dormitory program, I think it is. And of course, that's in the cycle, the budget cycle with the state, you have to apply, and you go through your local representative, you can go directly through the governor's office if you want to. Strategically, I don't know what way is the best way to go. I have not heard about, but I'll ask around other consultants that we work with in terms of if they have buildings funded. We've heard plow trucks with plows, heating systems in buildings, things of that nature have all been funded. And of course, it right, depends on the state budget.
So I'm picturing us doing this through, partially through grant, partially through use of our fund balance, partially through some kind of low interest loans. What's available loan wise? I know interest rates are changing and that's all in flux now, but what,
You mean like just take a municipal bond?
whatever's out there, I'm not looking at it.
Well, as you know, the prime's going up constantly, mortgage rates have doubled. At one time, more time to find more stuff, you know, in terms of to offset the cost of the loan, right? So it's maybe a wise way to, at one time I could tell you 3%, we would have to talk to, you know, somebody like Warren Banks or somebody just as a fair on the pulse more than we do. We haven't done one recently. We've been doing a lot for projects, water and wastewater through, you know, the EFC. And they're still, from what I understand, holding their line. Nick, have you heard anything around 3%? So you get so much for grant, then they give you a loan, and their loans are still running about 3%. And we, you know, I know you can do it too. We can run all the calculations what the actual payments would be and stuff.
What kind of term do those loans usually come in at? Is it 10-year, 20-year?
30 years, you go 30 years. With a building like this with a 75-year service life, I would go 30 years if you had. It really gets, I mean, you know, you're paying back more in the long run, but it gets the payments down, you know, it's good and bad, right? You know, just like any loan.
Like a mortgage.
Yeah. And we can start to do a little bit of asking to get some numbers. Whenever we come back, if you invite us back for another visit, we still have a little bit more tonight, but we can have some rough numbers for you, okay? Should we move on? Show them there.
No more questions on the building?
Oh, let me just go over the floor drains real quick. You correct me if I'm wrong.
I've been gone long enough that I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
So going way back, there was a time you could have a floor drain, go to a dry well, and everything's good. Nobody cared. Well, they care now. In fact, I think at one time, the DEC required you to fill in your floor drains, right?
Yeah, they do.
Because now there are EPA injection points. Basically, you would need a speedies permit. I'm just going to say this because it's not, in my mind, it's not feasible, but I'll say it anyway. You need a speedies permit to discharge, and you just can't because of all the metals that come off with, you know, when you're washing, you know, the paint and stuff like that, changing oil, and then all the solvents from cleaning the brakes and all the hydrocarbons from the petroleum. You basically need a treatment plant to discharge to the ground. Okay, he's nodding, he says yes. So far, so good. There was a time, now I'm going to go off the reservation, because I worked for the DEC down in Binghamton, and we were told we could wash our vehicles outside, but not inside the building. I don't think that's true anymore. So what we do is we put in a holding tank. And I think most highway departments are putting in holding tanks. Holding tanks right now are workable. You know, we put in, I think you're doing 3,000
gallon at Hebron.
Yeah.
And he just got that pumped out.
Where it could get a little dicey in the future, so where does this stuff go when they pump it out? They take it to the treatment plants. And they may perform tests on that. And, you know, as things get tighter and tighter, we'll just see. But right now, the only alternative, feasible alternative we can see is going to a holding tank. There's no way to have zero discharge. You bring the trucks in, there's snow and ice on them, stuff's going to drip off. You know what I mean?
And where does that holding tank, is it?
Oh, so there's just a very holding tank, so everything's gravity. Then there's a pump out, and there's an alarm
Like
on
a
it.
septic, right? Sort of like a septic.
It's just a big single chamber. Yeah. It's just a big concrete tank, and there's an alarm on it, and when it gets getting near full, then you call the septic hauler, and they come pump it out. One of the treatment plants that will take it, not all of them will take it. You probably have to go to one stalls, I would imagine, because the other ones aren't going to want it. And then it depends on what's in it.
Yeah.
That's also a seasonal problem, pretty much, you know, as far as washing them down with the salt and all. Other than that, it's probably just, like you said, some residue from oil and stuff.
It doesn't take, it takes very little contaminants to cause a big problem in terms of when you test that water. Because, you know, you're down parts per, in some cases, billions of contaminant, you know, very low. And not as stringent as PFOA and these new contaminants we're finding, you know, the Teflon related stuff and those things. But still, it doesn't take much to become a problem. Look and you shall find, basically. That's the bottom line. Are we marking something?
It's okay.
Yeah, the TV screen, they're videotaping the meetings, So when they play that back on YouTube, they're gonna see back to your thing. I didn't think that's what you just said that.
Yeah, this is.
Let's go back inside.
Probably better if we're off to the side.
Sorry about that, I just glanced
I
out.
have to say that was an
Didn't
intervention.
register with me either, so.
Okay, so this is the River Road, and, this is where you have your permitted mine. We just put the building somewhere. Now, I'll say it's for all of them. You need a water source if you put a building here, you know, a well, right? I don't believe, based on the number of people that use the highway garage, it would be regulated by the health department, so, you know, it's a little bit easier, but you still want clean water, you want to test it for bacteria and all that stuff. You would need a septic system for the restroom, stuff like that. Again, we talked about the holding tank, stuff like that. As far as electric goes, Pat, is there electric up there now?
Yeah, I think they would have let you down the road.
Is there 3 phase up there or no?
No.
I don't think, I thought about that too. Is there really anything that you
Would we
run in
need-
the garage if you need
Would we need 3 phase for anything?
No, usually we get a single, even with welding.
That's down to the pit, River Road?
Yeah,
Oh, there's no power there.
there's no power.
No,
There's no power there, but it is out on the road.
Main road, that's quite a ways out.
So running in single, I'm not saying it's cheap.
No.
This isn't a subdivision, so I believe they can bring in poles. It can be done. And if we start zeroing this out, if we want to keep carrying this side forward as an option, we would look at the cost of putting in, having, you know, put the poles and stuff.
And you got, I don't know, it's still active, that railroad track still active, did you get a crop there?
I don't think it's active. But the state line, the first from River Road up through that state property, that's just an easement you have through there. So on the other side of the track, that's where we.
When you actually got your permit for this mine, there were conditions put on it, if I remember right.
Mhm.
Yeah. You know, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there, I don't know if it was this specific, but hours that you could be working there, I don't know if there's noise levels, things like that.
Yeah, you should take care of that. We get tested regularly for that.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is that those, I don't know why those conditions were placed on there, I just know there was probably some, local input, that, you know, went to the APA maybe and said, you know, listen, if you put that up there, these are the terms we'd like to see if you do this. That may still apply if you build something up there, that's all I'm saying.
Beyond the footprint of the building itself, how much land area do you need to actually make this work?
We need probably a good 45, 50 feet, so you can bring the trucks, turn and so forth, go where they need to.
So when you're all done, 3 acres?
I think. No, not quite, I think it was.
An acre is 209 by 209, just 1 acre.
Yeah, I think it was 1 acre that we did Chestertown. I did a map similar to this. I think it was just under an acre.
Okay.
You think it's SWIP or something else?
No, I was just curious what kind of footprint we need for the whole facility.
To have blacktop around so the trucks can turn and all
Yeah,
that.
and all that, and, you know, if you're gonna park anything outside, you know, and so how much area do we have there, or how much is, I mean, I'm thinking level ground versus, you know, slopes and stuff, how much area do we have that's usable there?
Well, then, just by looking at this picture, and I don't know what here is.
This is 92 feet.
But this looks like a working face here, Pat?
Yeah.
Where you're taking, so, this is all, you're at the depth that you can mine in the bounds?
You go any lower and it's still right up the water.
So, and this is just based on a picture, right, but it looks like there's enough room, but yes, it should be measured, because I see you do stockpile stuff.
Mhm.
Do you mix at this facility?
No. No, we get some reclamation silos.
So you take this stuff and you bring it up here?
Yep.
How many acres is that property?
The mine, length of mine is 50 acres, so the entire property is 150.
Oh, okay.
50 acres. Wow.
So there's a lot of room down there, we need to clear more.
We don't have to go right there, we can put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, we'll leave this here. If you want to move us around, you know, you can do it. We can even run over this building, just move wherever you want.
And everything you'll need is a fuel station. When you're
Because you, what should probably be above ground storage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you need circulation for that, and somebody delivering fuel consideration for that.
So, okay, so here we are at this facility. Here's the building, Harris House is gone. I'm just gonna run through this so we can back up, okay? Harris House has been removed. It goes in here. To get the drive-through ability, it means leveling this out, maybe a small retaining wall across here to be able to drive through and make your turns to get out, you know, based on the turning radius of those trucks.
And then the open structures up here.
Yeah, because there's enough room, the canopy thing for the equipment that won't be inside, that want to keep it out of the rain, is up here. So we had to break that off and make it fit. We got a water supply, for wastewater, for all these facilities. And Gary's gonna talk about this facility and repurposing it in just a second, right? The hydrant garage.
Yeah.
We feel we can get, there's, I think people have concerns when we start looking at this site here, the distance to the well and everything. Again, we would meet the minimum, DOH separation distances, but we believe, and you know, we have to go up and test it and stuff, if we get to that point, that we can get it, no matter what you do, you're gonna have to force main and put it through a pump. And once you put it through the pump, then you really go quite some distance without it being a problem. So we're thinking you could probably put a septic system up here that would take all the waste if you want to send it there. Now, if, for instance, if this is all being working fine and you don't need to touch it, it ain't broke, don't fix it, fine. But we know we have issues here. You put this here. Gary's going to talk about possibly repurposing this building here. And all these things, you could force make it up to up here.
I seem to recall the recreation field has high groundwater there. And there's also a drainage that runs down through that area.
Through here.
No, where you were, there's a drainage.
Oh, yeah, that would
No,
have to be.
not that one, right up alongside the driveway.
Along here?
It goes right up through where you've got the label on there.
Here, this one.
Yeah.
It cuts around the base of where the mixing area is, and then it goes underground, correct? And then it goes into the creek.
Can you meet the separation distances putting the system up there?
From here? Yeah, we have to go see, but yeah, and we got the new well up there too, we gotta watch our separations from that well.
And that's 200 feet?
200 feet. So, you can't be more, as you know, more than 15% slope with a septic system. It's kind of steep up there, I don't think it's 15%. I mean, this is, again, just conceptual. We make it up there and say, you know, not so good. But having walked up there a few times and stuff, it just looked like it could possibly lend itself to a septic system.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of areas down here to go to. At one time, we were looking at right here, but again, you got this stream, you know, we really don't want to go for variances unless we really have to. But, you know, you got the new, one of the new wells right around here where my finger is. So, it's kind of limited on where you go for a septic system to service all these things. Yeah, I'm gonna be hopefully optimistic that I think we can find something up here. You know, there's, as you know, it's predicated on two things. One is, well, your separation is all that stuff, but what your perk rate is, and then the other part, the other side of the equation is what your flows. And that's, we gotta see if we have enough area to pick up the anticipated flow from, if you, possibly community center here, this building here, is all going up there.
So when you put those all together, you're over 1,000 gallons a day.
Yeah.
And you're going to need a permit. And it's going to require
Not necessarily,
I mean,
because we can alternate those, or, alternate those. So you need, you just make the system 50% bigger in the beginning, and you don't need 100% reserve.
okay.
Again, that may take it out to even that 50% bump. I'm just saying, these are things we can do.
Right.
Oh, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Well, the existing highway garage, the domes are good. I think it could be converted into a future community center. You have high ceilings for stuff, and I'm just throwing that out there as an option. But if you do consider that, we should know that at the beginning to size the future septic system.
Oh, the utilities and the service.
What are the dimensions of that space?
40 by 80.
What is it?
It's pretty
I'm
big.
sorry.
40 by 80. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty big. You can put offices in there, meeting room / community center. You could probably get some income right now, room for birthday parties or whatever. Obviously, that's part of the recommended doing. I think the domes are good.
Yeah, and you were to skin on the outside, and make it look very, very attractive. I mean, not overdone, but.
Yeah, it's pretty much aesthetics. It all depends what you want inside. Like I said, you can put a kitchenette, meeting rooms, and individual office rooms for somebody. I know if you have good internet service here, people outside, like Wayne and Woods, don't, and they come in and they rent a space for a day or something like that. That's getting very popular.
You don't have any internet issues in this town, do you?
We actually have fiber optic cable through a large part of the town now.
Okay.
But we
Slick.
need to serve the rest of the town, so there's still a lot of people who need service.
Yeah, that's just an option.
And like I said, this will have to be filled in.
Yeah, we would have to cut this back and get a retaining, natural stone retaining wall.
From the back of the building, how far would the retaining wall have to be in order to make
Well,
it?
we should be, I think it's around 50 feet, kind of based it off walking. And it should, it's still a little tight to turn a plow truck, but
Okay.
I think, I don't know. I think that's okay, 50 feet.
We can look at it. The supplier of the trucks must give you the specs on turning rates and stuff.
And, I mean, I don't know all that stuff, we could cut even further.
Yeah.
We just threw this one.
So that's where we are now. There's one more, the transfer station. So just to get oriented, there's the carbon landfill, the sanitary landfill, the C&D landfill that we're meeting with the DEC for, and then everything else that's going on. And of course, here's the entryway, so we just put the building there just as a starting point.
What would you do with all the existing transfer station facilities?
We think there's enough room that we can actually, move it around and get it in a place that's convenient. Now, when you say facilities, you mean to accommodate people coming in and dropping stuff off,
Yeah,
right? I mean, park.
You say you need to separate them from the highway department so they're not driving through where the trucks are.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
That's not a problem. A little further by the middle building.
Yeah.
We have plenty of room there. It's
Yeah,
basically
that's much bigger.
right, almost directly above the C&D.
Over here?
Yeah, you drive it down, it's a bigger area.
For proposed site for,
Yes, it's a lot bigger area, and you have to disturb around the buildings down below.
we'll expand this, view and we'll lay it in there.
Yeah, we just superimposed this, just for talking.
And that has power as far as the circuits are. So you have to run.
The utilities, the actual utility has a pulse, or do you run about road?
It's underground.
It's underground. But you got all the, I guess, camps you need and stuff like that?
Yeah, they run the big green boxes underground.
Oh, okay, so it's a transformer center.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we're gonna put trucks on that road and the public going in and out to the transfer station, we probably need to improve the road.
Yeah.
And would we pave it or?
I would pay it. It wouldn't take much to pay it. It's not that long.
Right.
And also we already have a salt mine down there.
Okay.
So you probably want 12-foot wide lanes, at least 10 foot, right, 10, 11, 12-foot
If
lanes?
this is really gonna go too much more, really, it's pretty wide that.
It's all good solid soil too.
Yeah.
It's not muddy or anything.
They did a study on this years ago, comparing this to the gravel pit, and the soil samples they did, I think it's Hutchins, were identical, place to fill on both sides. The concern of the gravel pit was that river flood. It just floods, because it literally goes right up, the road that was in there, touches the road, if it ever got worse, you'll be locked out of your facility, you know.
Well, do you think there could be ice blockage, for lack of a better term?
Yeah. That was a concern that I had for the one.
Which one's more centrally located for
Right there.
For convenience.
Yeah, if you look at the map, the town road is pretty much, central of the road system in town.
David, you're saying up on the hill of the road drive is.
Yeah, where the old snowmobile park is.
And there's probably plenty of room there to stockpile material
Oh,
that you need.
Well, I guess, Randy, touched on something maybe I don't understand is, let's say hypothetically you were to put something up here, your building, would you move this whole salt sand operation up there? The mixing operation?
You could, I mean, really. I know we did a.
It'd be inconvenient, would it, to have that there and this here, not really? No?
Would more inconvenient for what?
Just mixing the sand and stuff like that, you got your front end loader and stuff.
Yeah, everything, at either place. I mean, they can still use this in a place to like dock the loads up as they're doing it down or something.
Well, I'm not trying to talk you out of it, just for convenience, purposes of convenience, I didn't know if you'd want, again, if you were to go here, would you want to take that stuff with you, or that operation with you?
Then another thing is,
Do you take sand, I know you said you get the sand from the river,
Yes.
like bring here, do you get sand from here, bring here?
no, we still take sand out there for fill and stuff. It's a real loamy stuff, it's not good for the
Well,
road.
it's not good for, do you still have an active mining permit for this area?
Yeah, we do something. We don't use it, we don't really do much mining up there, but that makes a way, that's another good thing, it's not so close to houses, especially with the salt problem we had down here. And different things like that, the noise.
Call it the sensitivity to the site.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's,
I think it still helps. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
not as many houses up there like there is right here. Well, people back up lines all night long.
I think another pro for using that site, once the Harris House is gone here, if we repurpose the highway garage, we can improve this whole complex with parking. Because if you're gonna make that a community center where you can have a large number of people, you need parking. Now you have the ability to improve this whole complex and turn this into something that we can be proud of.
It wouldn't be so tight, everything would be very tight.
You open this area up here for it. Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's a kind of a win-win. We get a new highway garage in an area that is more centrally located. You have room to do everything you need to do on that site. And then this site, now you have room to do what you want to do here with what remains. We can make the improvements here, whatever we need to do with the recreation facilities, if we decide to do a community center, whatever we do with that building. So, I mean, I know we're not in the site selection point of the process. We're just brainstorming, but.
It's all important,
It's all valid.
Just a few little things, I thought maybe you were hitting on this earlier, Randy, is, the disturbance thing, the stormwater permit, it's just a formality, But, to put a SWIP together, I mean, you're talking another, $5, 6, 7, $8,000 to have a SWIP put together and stuff like that. You're increasing impervious surface by putting this building in. Like Randy said, if you're putting blacktop around, skirt all the way around the building just so it can turn in the spring and not dig in and stuff, that all gets factored in. I'm just saying, it's one of those things that it'll just have to be done, but it's almost every job we do. The bottom line is to disturb an acre. And I'm not talking Lake George watershed at the moment. Everything outside of that, more or less. You can disturb an acre, you gotta do a SWIP.
Now, if it's already been disturbed, do you still have to do a SWIP?
If you're gonna disturb. Yeah, now, when you do things like a septic system, you're not putting an impervious surface in, so you don't have to factor that in. So, SWIPs are basically two parts in my mind. One is what you do during construction, silt fence, stuff, construction entrance, so you're not dragging mud out on the main roads, all that stuff. The heavy lift is when you're gonna put in impervious surfaces enough that you got now tree, water quality line, not to get real technical about it, but there's things you want to do, and that takes a little more effort. So, when you put a building in like this, you may have a basin off to the side. I'm just going to very oversimplify it. Just your roof drains, everything, water that sheds off the blacktop, all goes this place, has a pour bay that you can clean out with the sediment running in the front part, and then a stilling basin that either infiltrates or does whatever. I'm just mentioning that it's all part of the package anymore. So, we're here for any more questions, but we'll leave this one here, and I should have thought this before I go over. Why don't, Nick, you can run over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets, just this, and everybody can mark them up with their ideas if that's what you want to do. And, because now we're kind of turning it back to you a little bit to help us focus in on what you want us to focus on.
What do you see as the next step in the process, and at what point do we invite the public to start commenting on stuff?
I would say that if we bring you over a clean sets, I would put this on the wall just to get them involved right at the beginning. That's my opinion.
Okay.
But certainly every step of the way, there should be a display in here that interested people come and look and ask questions during the board meeting. Yes, no, we'll find out, that type of thing. Just keep engaged all the way through.
Who's going to decide on the site?
What's that?
Board decide on the site?
Yep. I mean, it's some.
We're all pretty much set of the land, right?
I like the map a little bit further up the road.
But yeah, you have to extend that map up.
Yeah, we'll do that when we bring your set over. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's,
You know what else we'll bring over in this? It sounds corny, but we'll do it. We'll bring this building, a bunch of them cut out that size.
You move around.
Just take it where you like to sit.
Yeah.
I think to answer your question, Doug, I think we're all kind of leaning towards the transfer station, and it makes sense, but I don't think we want to make that decision now because I think we want the public to have their chance to give us input. And if somebody comes up with a better idea, I mean, we're only talking right now about properties the town owns. Somebody may come up with some property that they want to sell the town that may make more sense or may be better for some reason. I doubt it. I don't know of anybody or any property. I mean, I've looked at the maps around town and tried to think of places we could do it, and I haven't come up with anything myself. But yeah, I think you want to give the public a chance to have their input, and then we'll just take that into consideration and then decide. And the other thing is we're going to need some numbers from these guys because if one site is way more costly than the other, that may drive us to a different location.
Yep.
I doubt it, but.
It sounds like the sand pit's not a good option now.
That river road.
Yeah.
The river road.
Yeah,
Do you want to show them all 3 options or just?
probably two, because the river road path is really,
Yeah.
it's a definite.
Especially when you mentioned the ice dam.
On the other end of Beach Road, we've been in years ago, but there's also a bridge, and we actually want to build 1,777 feet from Home Hill Road. So that required building that whole road out through there, and the people that have had it in there to throw a fit, get the bridge in across the road, that's $100,000 for that.
This is gonna require seeker, right? More likely a type one, okay? And the only reason I'm saying that involves the public too. I mean, to me, it's good, it's a friendlier thing and not as formal to have these things around this room and to talk about it, you know, during board meetings, have us here, not here, whatever the case may be. But you will, have to do seeker, okay? And state, Environmental Quality Review Act, and basically, you know, Randy probably knows more about it than me, it's just the formal process to make sure the community has an opportunity to weigh in on a project to determine whether or not it's going to have a significant impact or not. If it's not going to have a significant impact, then I'm going way down the road, you do what's called a negative declaration. It's a formality. The board has the absolute right to do this after we do these evaluation sheets. They're very formal sheets. There's 3 steps to doing type 1. We go through all things, noise, hazardous materials, you know, view sheds, all that stuff. We give that to you. That gets out to the public, or in the public can view it if they want to. You don't send it out. You have to do a coordinated review with all involved agencies. So the APA gets a copy of that paper, that type, or the part 1. The DEC, because of SWIP and other things, they'll get it. You know, the county should get a copy. It's not just agencies. It's any. It could be a not-for-profit corporation, like we do work down at New York City Watershed. There's the CWC, the Cascade Watershed Corporation. They get copies when we do work down there. So you make sure you write everybody. SHPO, okay? Make sure historic reservations covered. All that stuff needs to be done. Let me say this. This is, and I know you're not. Nobody's thinking, oh, we're not going to do that. If you have to do something like, or you should do something like that, and you don't do it, what happens more often than not, it becomes a weapon against you. And someone who doesn't like to do something, well, they can follow the secret process. We're shutting that down. And it can be just like that. Yeah.
It seems daunting that we have to do that, but it's not. I mean, you're basically sending the stuff to the other involved agencies and giving them an opportunity to comment on it.
We've done so many. We give you all the forms. We give you the board resolutions. If you want, if you don't do it on your own, that's fine too. We're not saying, oh, you know, you got to do what we tell you. Just to help you, we do all that. Write all the letters on your behalf. SHPO's an oddball. Everybody else you send a letter to, and when you go to these other jurisdictional agencies, there's no way they're going to say, oh, we're going to take, you go ahead and take lead agency. We wouldn't touch it with a vaccine crowbar, right? So they want you to take it. They're not going to take it. What they do is they list some of the concerns that they have, which is good to know for us, especially as an engineer. Oh, make sure you do a SWIP, do this, do that, right? SHPO is a little different. They don't play ball with everybody else. We have to get into what's called their CRISP system, and we do that on as a little side routine, but we make sure it's all covered. Like Randy said, I may be making it sound like a lot. It's not a lot. It's a little bit of a time frame. You got to send it out 30 days, and then you got to publish it in the END after you make the decision. So there's components to it. We'll help you, give you as much help as you want to get through the process. We do it all the time.
If we're going to post those so the public can look at it, do you think it would be helpful to post like right next to it the pros and cons of each site that we've already thought of or discussed? Because that way, that eliminates somebody coming in and saying, well, you don't want that site because of this. Well, we've already thought that, so we don't need 15 people giving us that comment. So with that,
yeah, we'll do that, and what we'll do, we'll put together kind of a tentative list of the pros and cons. We'll send it to you because we want to make sure that you vet it before it gets put on this, for obvious reasons. The board looked at it.
yeah. And that way, if we do include the River Road site, we can put right on there what Pat said, that it could be subject to flooding due to, you know, ice jams and stuff. And so that is something that would probably rule that site out.
And line electrical all the way down that road.
Yeah.
Then the road, remember where we had to be watching, we had to rebuild that road. And if that ever happens again, we got no further to go, we're against that mountain and railroad track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something that weighs heavy on that site. I mean, yeah.
So let me bring up, is not the awkward part, our fees. So for the first thing we did, I told Randy, and hopefully it was okay, a flat rate of $1,200. For what we're doing up to and including tonight, this presentation was an additional $800. So I'm it's hard to give a number without knowing exactly how much you want. So what I like to do is do these things, up against, we'll put them against the wall, and then when you think it's time to have us back to discuss, hey, we're honing in on 2 sites, now can you do a more detailed, and we can do something like what's called a 35% design for each site. All right, I mean, you gotta pay for it, and I give you an honest estimate of what it's gonna be, and I give you a number, we really do everything we can to stick to it, as long as there's no change in scope. But we can do it that way too. So I'm not going to give you a number going forward till we find out after we get these things on the wall. We bring these things over for your workup sheets, and you guys have to kick it around. I mean, if you're totally eliminating the river road, that's like a good thing from our fee standpoint. And just tell us how much you want to go to the next step. Right? I know you're probably looking for us to recommend, and I will recommend, but right now I just like to turn it all over to you and a little bit to the public, just to, just to keep kicking around these ideas, so we're not just, it's changed, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you got to go through. That's the process. But until you go through it, there's no sense having us here. Unless you want us to come and explain to the public if you have a special board meeting or even just a regular board meeting where you want a presentation, you get a zillion questions, we'll come back and I'll give you a price to come back.
I think if we post the plans and ask people for comments, we'll gauge by the amount of response we get whether we need to have you come back and talk to the public. If we get a lot of people that are really up in arms over a particular site, maybe we need to have a meeting and invite the public to talk about it. But my guess is, I think people have known for a long time that we need to do something with a highway garage. And I think most people are on board with it. I mean, they'll be on board with it until they get their tax bill and they're unhappy with it. But, I mean, we're going to do everything we can to avoid that by getting grants and everything else we can do. But, yeah.
Did I hear that Tom and Natalie brought the cap? Did he bump it up to 2%? Is that the new cap?
Oh, I think it's probably going to be a lot higher than that because it's tied to the rate of inflation, which has gone way up.
I thought there was something on the radio. Was it 1.63 or 1.65 or something like that? And he said it was sorry for taking everybody's time, not to waste everybody's time. It was in the context of the announcement that the monthly annual inflation rate was like 9.1%, and they brought Tom and Natalie on the radio. They interviewed him. You're all gonna hate. I listen to public radio. Sorry, but they were talking about. He says, yeah, we're going to 2%, which he says there's a big delta. Because I thought he had said, and this is just curiosity on my point, that the cap was like 1.6 or something, 1.6 something, and he's going to 2, but there's that huge delta now.
So it's either 2% or the rate of inflation with a bunch of adjustment factors.
Oh, no kidding.
It's different for each town.
It's not a straight 2%.
It's not. So
See, I thought it was a blanket thing.
No, it's different for everyone.
there's a formula, and you have certain numbers you have to plug in each town. They can be a little bit different, and it also depends on what you did with last year's budget.
Okay, so
It's a moving thing for each town.
Oh, that's good enough. I'm just curious. Just sound like they're all tight. Everybody has to stick to 2%.
And the
You
other
don't have
thing is,
to stick to that.
I know you can bust it.
yeah,
You can
Right.
bust it.
Yeah.
we want to avoid that if we can.
No, I just understand. So,
But we have some fund balance, and if we know we're going to be doing a project 3 years from now, we can start putting some money away for that. So, whatever we have left over each year.
is it okay if I talk about CD landfill just for a minute?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so we're meeting that tomorrow, and I and you probably picked up on this, in their permit they issued you, they gave you a 10-year extension.
That's what Jessica told me.
Yeah, they were originally talking 5, so I called them up and said, is this right? You know, and they said, yeah, we thought,
That's good.
yeah, it's good.
A 10-year extension for what?
To operate thing.
To have it,
Yeah,
The C and D site.
the C&D stuff.
we don't have to close in 5 years, we have 10.
Okay.
Now, that's, so hypothetically, I think the reason they did that, hypothetically, the reason they did it is that gives you more time to generate revenue for disposing of this limited waste stream, which is basically C&D waste. You know, no asphalt, no sheet rock, no PVC, it's just concrete, asphalt, rocks. It's exempt C&D, basically what it's, what they call a limited waste stream. So I don't know how much that's gonna generate, but it's good, this 10-year extension, because I'll tell you what, I said, oh, you know what? It isn't worth manning it for that little bit of waste stream. You shut it in, you gotta close it in a year. So, you want to, you know what I mean?
You want to keep
Maybe not 10 years, but you want to keep it going, in my opinion.
On paper, anyway.
I don't know how much to say. Anyway, I just wanted to.
It's nice that we have 10 instead of 5.
So, we'll meet with them tomorrow, see what they say. I made a pitch, because they're looking for, from you, and you're looking for me, what's the financial assurance amount for the financial, how you can assure that, what's the estimated cost now in 10 years to close that thing? And, you know, we got a rate of inflation, all that stuff, right?
Right.
What I'm discussing with them, and Pat maybe you can weigh in on this, is, you know, when I look at that landfill, it looks like we can still go up a little bit, and we can still go out into the woods, and I'm not saying we should, but let's just say we can bring a little waste over the next 10 years. If we can bring that in, that makes the capital a lot smaller and a lot less cost. So that's one of the things I want to talk with them. And I already sent an email on this asking that question. See what they say.
What's involved in capping C and D compared to like?
They're really not very different than a regular sanitary.
You don't have to have a line or anything under it.
No.
How do you do it?
No. You need a geotextile membrane on top. You need a cushion for it. Okay, so you smooth everything out, put the cushion, and then you use either PVC, which is very rigid, it's either 80 mil or 40 mil, I forget what I'm talking about. And then there's high density polyethylene maybe, so they give you 2 selections. I actually sent them an email and said, look, what's the cost running for these things? And they actually, based on other ones that have been done, and they sent me some stuff back on the cost of it. But that's today's cost, not 10 years out, right? So anyway, so you put that in, then you gotta bring in 2-foot soil, and then you gotta bring topsoil on top of that.
What there's got to be like maximum slope sheet.
I think it's a 1-on-4, you know, yeah. But when I look at that landfill, and maybe stuff has grown up, and it just gives the appearance, it looks like we could bring a lot of stuff in from the sides. So aerially, or, you know, in the X and Y direction, if we can make it smaller, then we can make it smaller. I actually looked at some past, or the geotextile part, that you can buy the whole thing and unfold it right there on the site, the right thickness and everything. You get into these big, if the landfill stays the size it is, not that it's a big one, but it's big enough that now you've got to bring in pieces, and you actually got to have someone seal it on site. And there's a whole set of regulations to go along with sealing these things on site. So I'm just trying to, without getting too cute, I'm just trying to see how much we can do to cap it in an acceptable way, but keep the cost down. Anyway, I just wanted to mention, we're going to meet here tomorrow at 10, and then we're going.
Oh, so you're meeting here first, and then go.
It's going to be Katie, I forget her last name, I think, but Ted Wood will be there. You can't go, Tom. No. Have you been on the DEC 2 years yet?
I left in 2016.
Oh, I said yes.
Okay, so you're leaving this with us
And we're gonna bring over more, we'll shift that one to include the area
up by the shed?
over by the, C&D, just
Mhm.
towards the C&D or south of where it is. And then we'll list our list of pros and cons for each site.
Okay.
We'll get that, might as well get it all done at once.
Yeah.
Give it to you, and have us add or subtract or
Mhm.
wordsmith, whatever you want to do.
Okay, all right, thank you very
Do you want
much.
us to do the same thing, or you want to ask it now?
The river?
Everybody want to keep it, did somebody want to keep it on?
I thought, I mean, if we take it out now, the public's gonna start asking questions about it, and then we're gonna have to justify why we did it. I would say keep all the sites in, and just list the pros and cons, and right up top, put what Pat said about why we don't think it's a good site.
Yeah, there's some, I don't think there's any problem.
So, the other, to work into the pros and cons, maybe if you get a copy of the mining permit that has the restrictions on it, that would probably be applicable if you do this, maybe.
I mean, the only big pro that I see with the site is the materials there.
That's the only one I may have mentioned, but you got to, don't save your cost of trucking the sand over there.
Yeah.
But if it floods, you can't get to the sand.
Yep.
And there were restrictions, you could only mine like 60 days or something in the spring, 45 days in the spring, 60 days in the fall. You couldn't travel over the road with trucks between this hour and this hour. You had to pave the road with stuff.
It does carry forward to this, if, you know what I'm saying, that would be a big
Absolutely.
negative.
It's also not centrally located, it's, to get from there to any place in town, you gotta drive way around, it's, yeah.
Well, again, if you want us to include it, we will, that's fine. If you want us to include it, look, it's gonna be a lot of negatives from what I'm hearing, we can do that.
I think include it, list all the negatives. That eliminates the public saying, hey, why didn't you?
And what can't you keep there? Because I remember before, in 2008, the DEC passed a resolution where you couldn't no longer store anything considered solid waste in an active mining area. So oil and stuff, anything like that, they say, well, you can't have that outside because it's also an active mining.
When it doesn't sound like it's a feasible site, the probably way to get around that is you close the portion of the mine where you've taken everything out, you know, formally close that, and they can subtract that off, like, to be covered under the city regulation, just where the building is. But if I get a copy of that, do you have a copy of that?
I may have that store. Yeah.
Or I imagine the 8K, if I had foiled it. If you don't have it, I would have foiled it. I just want to know what all those conditions are, you know?
What is it called, mine safety report, is that what it's
That
called?
was APA mining permit, it was an
Mine
agreement.
permit?
Is it on file at the clerk's
Down at
office?
Thurman River Road, probably get
It
it.
might be upstairs.
Is it on file at the clerk's office, the county clerk's office? I thought all
I don't know where any of they file those, I really don't know. I don't know if they have to file those with the county or not. The DEC, who was the big mining guy who left maybe around the same time we did? Who was
Dave Koenig?
no, another guy.
Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy. Bennett.
Jeremy Bennett, is he gone?
I heard that.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a good go-to guy. I don't know who's doing it now.
Yeah.
I can find out. I go to some.
If you just need to call the permits office, probably just ask
I'll
Sue
look.
Cliffner.
Okay. Usually, what's her name? Maybe.
Oh, yeah,
That.
that thingy.
They have next door, because I remember
Yeah, would you look first? If not, I'll get over that thing. We worked with her a lot.
it was between the APA and the town.
Well, I'm sure either agency's gonna have the whole,
Yeah.
you know, the whole laundry list. All set?
Who said?
I'm going home to jump in the pool.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys.
thank you. You too.
Give us, 2 weeks to get that to you.
Okay.
Again, the prints, we can bring the prints over right away, we just got a lot going on. We can definitely, everything to you in 2 weeks, we can talk about the list and the drawings.
So maybe we'll put something in the paper for our next meeting if people want to come.
Yeah, that's up to you. Yeah, we'll have it, we'll make sure we have it.
Yeah.
We'll make the presents also, so they can look at it.
Yeah, we'll get that latest, but before I do it, I gotta get, you know, I don't wanna do it in piecemeal, I just like to have everything.
All right, have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
See you, Brad.
You have a good day. Bye.
Okay, so next I have, resolution to put out to bid 2 highway department vehicles. Do you want to bring that one? Maybe do you want a second?
I would second it. To put out the 2 vehicles to bid.
It might be your last one, because I
It's
added
towards the
it
back
at
of
the
the
end.
packet, after the justice court. No, it's after, then there's the budget adjustments, it's after that. Oh, yeah, it's near the end of the packet. Right before the, resolution for claims.
Oh, I got it. Okay. Okay.
Oh, hold on, there's that.
Oh, you found it too?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm looking in the wrong spot. That's the bad.
You got it.
Oh, I wasn't the only one?
No,
Oh, okay, good, I feel better.
it was put in at the end, that's why.
Oh.
Whereas the highway superintendent has determined they have 2 older plow trucks that are no longer needed, be it resolved that the town board authorizes the town clerk to advertise for bids in the Post-Star. The sealed bids will be accepted by the town clerk until August 17th, 2022. Any bids received after that date will be returned to the bidder unopened. The town of Thurman reserves the right to reject any and all bids. The trucks can be viewed Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please call the highway department with any questions at 518-623-9614, extension 104. And the truck descriptions are as follows: 1999 International Tandem Dump Truck and a 1993 Ford L9000 Single Axle 4-wheel drive truck. Any discussion?
I didn't hear the motion was there.
Ed made the motion.
Ed and then Randy. All in favor then?
Aye.
Okay, next resolution I have is to affirm the completion of the Unified Court System internal audit. I met with Joanna yesterday, and this needs to be sent to the New York State Unified Court System. So, did you do that?
Yeah.
You seconded? And Ed seconded it. And there's a copy of the audit here. Everything was fine, except the bank does not give her copies of her checks with her bank statement. So I gave her Barbara's number for her to call. I told her we get them now, so she should be able to get them today. So whereas section 2019A of the Uniform Justice Court Act requires that towns annually provide their court records and dockets to the auditing board of the town, and that such records then be examined and that fact be entered into the minutes of the board's proceedings. And whereas the required examination was conducted for fiscal year ended 2021, be it resolved the Thurman supervisor will forward a copy of the audit and resolution via email to Joe Casaza of the New York State Unified Court System and follow up by mail to Daniel Johnson, Chief Internal Auditor at the New York State Unified Court System. Does anybody have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll do it tomorrow. You have financials in your packet. I went through the expenditures for general fund and highway. And in your packet is a list of the budget adjustments that we need to do. There's a few that have, they're not very large negatives, but we shouldn't have any, so I figure we'll do it now. The first one is we received 4,000 for the Generous Act grant. I'd like to increase it by 1,000 to put that 1,000 toward the community garden, because when the grant was applied for, it was for the community garden and an ice rink. So that's how much money has been spent on the garden, just under that. And the other three in general fund were negatives. The assessor's contractual negative is $209.91. So I put 500 there to come out of unemployment, since there's $2,500 in unemployment, and we don't have anybody on unemployment. We won't be spending that, I don't think. The engineer contractual is a negative $272.50. But in light of, I know we're going to have more future bills, I put 3,000 to move from contingency so we can cover, we just got a bill here for almost $1,000. The next one was our disability insurance. It was just slightly over what we expected. It was $14.56 over. And I would like to pull that from unemployment as well. And then in the highway fund, we had one negative. It was for, I think, was it for couplers or something you needed for the bridge? $2,431.29. And it was under bridges contractual, but there's not enough in there, so I would like to take that from bridges equipment, which has nothing against it.
I'll make the motion.
And
Second.
any discussion? Do you want to see any of the codes or anything? I did print them out. No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, a couple other things I just wanted to bring up. In your packet is also the recent sales tax. May was a little lower, difference was a negative 10.4%, but overall for that quarter it went up 5.2. It's nothing like January, February, March, but we're still in positive there. We didn't get ours yet. This is just from county, it's a county number. I also put in there the New York class counts. The interest we earned in June was $396.29. And you also have the American Rescue Plan Act information. We're receiving shortly our second payment of $60,502.63. Oh, I did get some information on grants for broadband to reach out to people that were not covered originally. It's from, I think I put an email in from him. His name, I think, is Mr. Wheatley. He said in 2023 there'll be grants, and I think your paperwork mentioned that as well.
Yeah, Kevin Lynch from Slick said that there may be state or federal funds available, but likely not available until 2023. So, yeah, 2023.
Yeah, that's what this one, the map that he showed is the one that's on their website. It's mapmybroadband.gov, and There's, yeah, they're going to have vast amounts of federal 42 billion coming to address broadband will be flowing through the New York State Connect All office, now under ESD. You can go onto that site and you can, sort of like the map you gave me, it shows the unserved and served, and Thurman is unserved, 11% of the town does not have it. And I have copies of this, I just don't want to see what their little information is.
So, one of the things Kevin mentioned to me in his response to my email, that if funds become available in 2023, we're looking at construction in 2024. So, what I was trying to do was trying to get the ball rolling so that we're prepared, we know which homes need to be served.
Right.
We can negotiate with Kevin and Slick wherever we need to, so we know what it's gonna cost us to serve the rest of them, and decide whether we can do it with our ARPA money, or whether we wanna do it with some of the grant money you're talking about, or, cause if we can use the grant money you're talking about, then that means we can use the ARPA money for something else, so.
I think the first step we have to do is identify who they are, because when you look at the map that's on this, they'll be yellow if they're unserved. They could be just a home, they could be someone who's not here all the time, or someone who doesn't necessarily even want it. I think we need to know who they are.
Yeah.
And then they have this other, it says eligible New Yorkers are encouraged to apply for the FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program. And that gives you a discount up to $30 a month toward internet service, which I haven't really clicked on this. I just found that it was part of this that I was looking at today. So, but it does show, I guess this is speed, Slick Network 200, via satellite 100, HughesNet 25. Is that a speed of the internet?
It could be, yeah, maximum download speed, maximum upload speed.
Yes, you see Slick is way.
Well, okay, so it's a little bit misleading because the maximum you can get through Slick, they're saying is 200, but you actually get what you pay for. They have different levels.
Different levels.
And like at my house and my business, I only paid for the basic, which is only 25 megabits per second, just to see if it would serve my purposes. And you know what? Most of the time it does. I'm able to make phone calls on it. We watch videos and use it for all the normal internet stuff. It's not a problem. If you want to have 100 megabits per second, you can do that. That's for download. Upload is where HughesNet is really short because their maximum upload speed is 3 megabits per second. And I think one of the reasons you're seeing the state and the federal government really push to expand broadband is because they're trying to overcome the problems with HughesNet because it's terrible, and they're trying to, basically get fiber optic cable to everybody, a better service. So, yeah, that's what's gonna happen, and I mean, we're already, most of our town is served by Slick, so if we can negotiate with them and get a good price,
Yeah.
and if we've got the funds to do it, we can get the rest of the town served. I mean, and it's good for the people that live here, it's good for property values, there's a lot of reasons to do it, so.
Well, on that note, I've been delving into the financials here and looking at the end of last year where the fund balance was listed at $585,550. That was in the highway department. But then when I'm looking at how the first truck was supposed to be paid, I have that against a code in our budget, which has a huge negative because that was actually supposed to be paid out of fund balance, and it wasn't encumbered. And then when you take away the fund balance that was used on the budget, unexpended fund balance used there, the actual highway fund balance was only $176,287. So we didn't really start out where these documents showed us to be. So, and I know I saw pretty lengthy minutes here that I looked at where you brought that up in May. quite extensively that you knew that wasn't,
Well,
that the encumbrances weren't being brought up.
exactly. That's what I kept asking for. I knew she was showing a big number, but I knew that number wasn't right because we had encumbered some of the money.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm trying to make sure we can get through the year and not touch the money in the New York class. That's my goal, because that money could go toward the garage. It's $500,000. It's quite a lot of money if we can let it sit there somehow.
and the other thing is, you know, as we go through the year, I mean, hopefully at the end of the year, we're gonna have additional fund balance.
Yes,
We're gonna
I'm
add
hoping to.
to it.
Right. I think as we get closer to budgeting, which starts in September, gonna get together some financials that are a little different than what we see here. I would like to see annual amounts for every year and really know where we're at exactly, because there are some things in here, like, I have to go back into different 2020 or 2021, but there's an accounts payable of negative 25,000. It's impossible. Can't have that. So somewhere in this past history of the financials, I need to figure this all out and make sure that it's shown correctly. The loader truck payment they have to make and the second truck payment that's due in October, that should all have been encumbered too. So I want to get it all to that so that when you're looking at the number, you can trust the number. So.
Since we're talking about the financials and all that, I sent you a link to Thomas Creek's,
I saw that.
yeah, to the audit that was done down there and all the things that they pointed out that was wrong in it. And for anybody watching this video, I'm not knocking Stony Creek, that's not my intention. But I guess as I read through that audit, I was concerned, I'm not saying we're doing all the things they're doing by any stretch of the imagination, but I was concerned that maybe we're not doing some of the things we should be doing. And so I was kind of looking at that as kind of instructive, like maybe that could be used for training for us, because I know there are things that we need to start paying attention to. And I think what you're talking about fits in exactly with that. So,
You have full financials there, every
Yes.
financial I can print, but we don't discuss them.
right,
I hand them out, but we don't really discuss them.
exactly.
And that might be something, well, we're gonna have to anyway, because budgeting time is coming. So we'll be discussing them probably till you're sick of it, but we have to.
Yeah.
So just letting you know, our fund balance is not 585. It was 176 when we started, plus whatever we're gonna end up with this year, so. And then the other thing is, the historian Myra, she's trying to put together a car show up in the rec field in September. And I've heard that people would like to have food at the concerts, and so would I, but anyone who wants to do it is welcome. So if you know anybody, I had mentioned it to Tina for TCA, if they wanted to do anything there and raise some money, they are welcome. If you know anybody who does. Another thing, and this is pretty important, I talked to Kevin Garrity, and he's going to be on board, like with Chester and the other towns, forming an ambulance district in Warrensburg. We are in a contract till the end of the year, and at that time, I don't know how that's going to affect us. So, something to think about. I might need to reach out to Stony Creek. I did hear that they just had 6 more EMTs graduate, so might be a possibility, or maybe a per diem, whoever answers, we get a certain dollar amount. Right now, we're paying about $1,000 a call, I think. If we pay 50,000, they do between 50 to 60 calls, I think. So we could do something that way, and then Johnsburg or Stony Creek or even Warrensburg could answer. But Kevin did mention to me that with that district, they're responsible for 24/7 coverage to Warrensburg. So, just putting that. And that's all I have. Do you have anything? Do you? Okay. Then we'll do the resolution for payment of the claims. Do you want to introduce that? Okay. In a second.
Yeah,
That was done.
And, okay. Resolution to approve payment of the claims, total of abstract 7, general fund, July 20th, 17,881.44. And the total of abstract 7, highway fund for July 20th is 44,189.29, for a total of $62,070.73. And that includes this here invoice that I just got. Okay, that's all I have. Oh, I do have, wait, one more thing. The gentleman stopped by today and he, what? Oh, yeah, okay. All in favor?
$17,881.44, $42.70,
There were two bills that were added after the abstract.
Yeah, so we'll just gonna pay them later on today. When I get this. Yep. A gentleman stopped by and he gave me this, there's multiple of discounts you can get if you're over 50, over 60. I didn't know Dunkin' Donuts gives you free coffee if you're over 55, but he wants me to have this to give out to anybody who wants it. So I thought I'd just put it on the bulletin board there, all these different kind of discounts you can get. He went through the trouble of making this up, so I said, sure, I'll hand it out. Yeah, could help people, especially if they come to cleaning and they get one of these. Okay, then. Motion to adjourn. Second.
I will.
I'll second it.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
All right. I got one short.
Yeah.
So these people, though, they're not really all that great, then.
No,
Dish.
they're.
You know what we didn't talk about during the meeting, and we don't have to do it now, but at some point we got to schedule a trip to work and see the project.
Yeah, I would like to do that. And I can also talk to Mary Ann in Chester, because I work there, and she